Ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests, good evening, and welcome to Ottawa City Hall. Mesdames, Messieurs, distingués invités, bonsoir et bienvenue à l'Hôtel de Ville d'Ottawa. My name is Hugues Baudouin-Dumouchel. I'm very pleased to be your Master of Ceremony for this evening's Key to the City Award presentation, the city's highest and most prestigious award. Je m'appelle Hugues Baudouin-Dumouchel, je suis ravi d'être votre maître de cérémonie ce soir à l'occasion de la remise de la clé de la ville au Ottawa Citizen. Il s'agit de la plus haute distinction décernée par la ville. At this time, for those who can, please stand for the arrival of Mayor Jim Watson and Ms. Nicole McAdam and the beginning of this evening's ceremony. Ceux et celles qui le peuvent sont invités à se lever pour l'arrivée du maire Jim Watson et de Mme Nicole McAdam et de le début de la cérémonie de ce soir. Please be seated. Je vous invite à vous asseoir. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you to Ottawa City Hall. First, I wish to acknowledge that Ottawa is located on unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. I would like to honor the land and the peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose ancestors have lived on this territory for millennia, and whose culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. Il est important de souligner que la ville d'Ottawa est située sur un territoire non cédé de la nation Anishinaabe algonquine. J'aimerais dans un premier temps honorer les terres et les peuples de la nation Anishinaabe algonquine, dont les ancêtres ont vécu sur ce territoire durant des millénaires et dont la culture et la présence ont enrichi et continuent d'enrichir encore aujourd'hui ces terres. Ce soir, alors que nous ouvrons cette cérémonie, j'inviterai sous peu Claudette Commanda à se présenter pour offrir un accueil territorial. Claudette Commanda is an Algonquin from Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabeg First Nation, located in the province of Quebec. Elder Commanda has dedicated the last 35 years promoting First Nations people, history, culture, language, and traditional knowledge and rights in various capacities, including as a student, as a professor, member and chair of the Aboriginal Education Council, and in the public forum via speaking engagements. Claudette Commanda est une Algonquine de la Première Nation Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabeg de la province de Québec. Elder Commanda.
Greetings. Good evening, everyone. Kwe kakina. Kwe. Kani michkishgun kinun edishnakas, kitagan zibi donjaban, pijaje koma anishna beyaki. Bienvenue à tous. Bienvenue ici à la territoire non-cédé de nos ancêtres, la nation algonquin. I'm always honored and proud to bring greetings on behalf of my community, Kitagan Zibi, the Algonquin Nation, and I'm exceptionally proud tonight to bring forth greetings to you, Your Worship, Mayor Watson, members of City Council, and of course Ottawa Citizen, because my son and my grandson are here with me. So we welcome you to this beautiful, unsurrendered homeland of the Algonquin people. And I see children are here, and children are beautiful. For what we do here today and tomorrow is always about the children, because you are our future today and tomorrow. So I welcome all the children who are here, and we must always acknowledge those children. Mayor Watson, members of City Council, Chief Dylan Whiteduck, he sends regrets. He so wanted to be here. He so wanted to be here because he appreciated and appreciates Ottawa Citizen. Ottawa Citizen has always been a friend to the Algonquin people, so we thank you. And I must say that as I bring greetings, I bring a blessing to the city of Ottawa, to the Ottawa Citizen, a blessing. You have brought so much wisdom and learning and joy to so many people through the Ottawa Citizen. And I have to say that that was my first job at 12 years old, was delivering the Ottawa Citizen. When the Ottawa Citizen was, when they opened the doors to have the newspaper to be delivered in the community of Kitagan Zibi, so my great aunt was the courier, and she hired me to deliver the Ottawa Citizen for 25 cents a week. But I loved it. Ottawa Citizen newspaper, Mayor Watson and City Council are blessing you with the key to the city of Ottawa. But I must tell you that you have the key to my home. Every morning, I pick up that printed copy with my cup of coffee, I read the news, and I can tell you that each and every day you make my day. So please continue to always, always have Ottawa Citizen. And I thank you. I thank you for bringing the world every day into our homes and writing those fantastic stories, opening up the minds of people, educating. And in particular, when you write about the Algonquin people, our history, writing about First Nations, Indigenous issues, thank you. I say thank you. The Creator has told us that every day when we rise, we must always appreciate the joy of living. And so what I say to you, to the Ottawa Citizen, miigwech, nibuksendam mashkawiziwin, nibuksendam zagiedwin, nibuksendmin pomadzwin, nibuksendam nibakkawin. And what I said in my language is that what I wish for you to continue the wisdom that you bring to us, the wisdom that you share, gathering everyone's stories and putting it in a story that we learn. My prayer and blessing to you is that you continue to have that good life, good health, good wisdom, courage and strength, and always love in your heart as we love you, the Ottawa Citizen. Chi miigwech, miigwech. Thank you, miigwech.
Thank you, Elder Commander, for that magnificent blessing. Miigwech. It is my distinct honor to invite His Worship Jim Watson to come forward for the official presentation of the key to the city to the Ottawa Citizen. Following the presentation, Ms. McAdam, Editor-in-Chief, Ottawa Citizen, will sign the City of Ottawa's official registry. Après la présentation, Mme McAdam, rédactrice en chef du Ottawa Citizen, signera le registre officiel de la Ville d'Ottawa. Your Worship.
Well, thank you very much, Hugh. Merci beaucoup, Hugh. Claudette, what can I say? It is always such an honor to have you here. I think we have to get you an office here. You're here so often with your words of wisdom, and please pass along our sincere thanks to Chief White Duck for his comments. And to Nicole and friends and family of the Ottawa Citizen, past and present employees, distinguished guests, members of City Council, and senior leadership team. I look forward to Alex and Randy's comments later on today. And of course, welcome Nicole's family, her two kids and her husband, and thank them very much for being here today. From its inception in 1845, reporters at the Bytown Packet began telling the stories that served and reflected the town of 4,500 people known as Bytown. The paper was renamed the Ottawa Citizen in 1851 and continued to build on its reputation for clear and accurate news and fair-minded coverage of local institutions. The key to the city is being presented in recognition of the long-standing and unwavering commitment of the Ottawa Citizen to keep the public informed. This was originally planned for 2 years ago at the 175th anniversary of the Citizen, which is an important milestone. But today, because of COVID, we had to put that off, so the 177th doesn't have the same cachet as the 175th, but we're doing it in spirit. Tonight, we also recognize the significant contributions the paper has made to community and awareness building with award-winning journalism throughout the years. Your dedication to the highest level of journalistic integrity has served the people of Ottawa well and has mobilized people to take action to improve our city. The Citizen is one of the oldest continuously operating businesses in the city, and it has survived several challenges, including a devastating fire, withering newspaper competition, and a crippling strike. The key to the city has been bestowed upon distinguished persons and honored guests of the City of Ottawa since it was first presented in 1935 to Lord Tweedsmuir, Governor-General of Canada, and his wife, Lady Tweedsmuir. During my mayoralty, the key to the city has been presented to individuals including Alex Trebek, Paul Doer, Sandra O, institutions like Carleton University, the Community Foundation, and most recently Dr. Vera Etches and Ottawa Public Health. In May 2020, to mark its 175th anniversary, the Citizen featured a different front page each week from past Ottawa citizens. I think Bruce was doing a lot of those, Bruce Deitchman. The first to be profiled was the edition from February 1948 with Canada's sweetheart, Ottawa's sweetheart, Barbara Ann Scott, who had just become the first Canadian to win a gold medal in women's figure skating. And in fact, downstairs during the reception, you can actually see her gold medal. She donated her gold medal to the City of Ottawa, along with all of her other awards, including the Order of Canada, their Walk of Fame, all of her dresses and outfits from her skating career, just 6 months before she passed away, and we opened the gallery. So her medal is there, and the rest of her gifts and so on are at the Barbara Ann Scott Arena. Barbara Ann Scott received the key to the city on March 9th the same year. That was the year when she was given a beautiful new car, and after one day she couldn't accept it because it would make her a professional athlete, so she had to give the car back, and it stayed in a garage in Ottawa until she became a professional and not an amateur, and she drove away with it at that time. The Bytown Packet championed Bytown as the seat of government, and more recently, the Citizen campaigned for community concerns like safe drinking water and a clean Ottawa River. After the Second World War, it campaigned for the establishment of a new university in Ottawa, Carleton College. I don't think you were there back then, Randy, in 1948, but you were dreaming about one day being a professor at the great School of Journalism and Communications. Former Citizen publisher Harry Southam donated much of the land on which Carleton University's campus is now built. Of note to our audience today, the School of Journalism and Communications at Carleton was founded in 1945 and celebrated its 75th anniversary in 2020. Since 1845, the Ottawa Citizen has covered stories that are woven in the nation's history. From Queen Victoria's choice to Ottawa as the capital in 1857, to the assassination of Thomas D'Arcy McGee, one of the fathers of Confederation, in 1868. Journalists have covered key milestones in the evolution of our city: the construction of the National Gallery, the return of the NHL hockey, and the 1998 ice storm. And more recently, it provided in-depth coverage in the stories of our residents coping with floods, the devastating tornadoes in 2018, COVID-19 pandemic, the occupation, and the massive storm of 2022. The citizens' long-standing dedication to sharing news and information with our residents has had a tremendous impact on our city and our economy. I commend the Ottawa Citizen for their many years of keeping our community informed and for creating the public dialogue that has helped us build our city. Alors, c'est mon plaisir, au nom de tous mes collègues du Conseil municipal de la Ville d'Ottawa, de présenter la clé de la ville à la Ottawa Citizen. It's now my pleasure, on behalf of my colleagues on Ottawa City Council, to officially present the Ottawa Citizen and Nicole McAdam, the editor-in-chief. I just had eye drops from my eye doctor, and I can barely see anyone or my notes, so I haven't been overserved in my stumbling here. But you know when they put eye drops in and you can't see a thing, and I'm looking, am I in the right room? But it's my pleasure now to ask Nicole to come forward and accept the key to the city from a grateful community. Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Ms. McAdam, congratulations for this well-deserved honor. I now invite Mr. Alex Munter, Chief Executive Officer, Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, to come forward to deliver his remarks. J'invite maintenant Monsieur Alex Munter, Président et Directeur Général du CHIO, à prononcer son discours.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this auspicious and special moment. I do have to tell you that as a boy growing up in Ottawa, the Ottawa Citizen was actually spoken of quite darkly in our home. Because you see, my parents had been subscribers to the Ottawa Journal. And people who've been around a long time will know that in 1980, Thompson Newspapers, the owner of the Journal, shut down the Journal. Southam, the owner of the Citizen, shut down its paper in Winnipeg. And so, you know, for a while there, my parents held a bit of a grudge. And the only time they'd go to purchase a copy of the Citizen was when they needed to buy something from the Want Ads. For those of you under the age of 35, basically Kijiji used to be a section of the newspaper. So that all changed in 1990 when I was hired as a summer intern reporter at the Ottawa Citizen, and you know, my proud mother wanted to read my bylines, so she got a subscription and has been reading the paper ever since. And I wasn't there long. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I had the opportunity in working on that newsroom on Baxter Road to learn a lot, but also to see the dedication and commitment and principle of the people who worked there, and what it was that motivated people to go into journalism, and the desire to make a difference for their community and for their world. And I met some amazing people, and I see one of them, Don Butler, who was actually assigned to be my writing coach, and have made friends whom I've known since that time. Now, in 1991, the city editor, a fellow by the name of Randall Denley, if you may have heard of him, recommended to me, it was probably not quite an ultimatum, but it was kind of ish, that I was probably better suited, that I could be a great journalist, but I was probably better suited to politics. And that, maybe I might want to consider my options. Which is kind of ironic because 15 years later, when I was running for mayor of Ottawa, the Ottawa Citizen suggested to the residents of Ottawa that really I should leave politics and they should elect somebody different as mayor. So anyway, I'm not here to talk about the career counseling services I've received from the Ottawa Citizen. It's more of a side hustle than the main mission of the organization. But I would say that, there are very few organizations that have been around for 177 years that are more relevant at their 177th year than they ever have been before. And I would argue that that is the case given the environment that we live in, really for two reasons. The first is that in our saturated information environment, there is actually less and less information about our community. As information gets homogenized and centralized, and hearing about our community, the issues here, the people here, storytellers like I see Kelly Egan and Bruce Deachman, these lift our community up. This is a really, really important contribution to connecting people who live here and is so important. The second reason, the other reason I think the Citizen has never been more relevant, and this is a big one, it's that truth is under fire. Last fall at CHEO, in one of the waves where we were restricting visitors, obviously parents and families could come, but visitors couldn't come in, a woman kind of lied her way in to the building, and because she wanted to confront the senior leadership of the hospital about the fact, in her mind, it is false, but the false belief that there are scores of children and I forget the number, but the high number of people who have been killed by the COVID vaccine. It's not true. But she believed it with incredible sincerity. And when you're marinated in disinformation, the truth begins to feel like disinformation. And so the Citizen matters more than ever because we are in a struggle for the truth. And we need to determine whether, if we want to talk about it in terms of our local community, whether we're going to get our information from somebody like Liz Payne, a reporter at the Citizen who has devoted her career to understanding healthcare and healthcare issues and writing about them, or some dude on Facebook who has other agendas and shares disinformation. Une démocratie ne peut pas survivre si les faits de base deviennent discutables, si les opinions sont pareilles à la vérité. Et c'est pour ça que l'importance du journalisme indépendant est tellement, c'est un moment tournant pour notre société. So I'm here today really out of admiration and respect for the people that I know from the Citizen, but mostly because I have never believed that your work matters more than it does now. And I know that it's hard, and I know that there are all kinds of external forces that are buffeting the media industry. So I wish you the best of luck. I'm trying to do the math in my head. Yeah, I should be able to be around for the 200th birthday, so I hope we do that. And if I were to give you some advice, some unsolicited advice, although you did invite me, so it's kind of solicited, and I don't want to step on the toes of the journalism professor who's next, but our big problem is the decline of trust in institutions. And the media is an institution. It's an institution that holds others accountable, but it is an institution. And I'll leave you with a thought from Gloria Steinem that I think is worth reflecting on as we think about what the role of the citizen and the media more broadly is going forward. And that is the notion that only conflict is news and that objectivity means being even-handedly negative corrodes confidence. It breeds cynicism that then gets turned on the media. And so I will leave it to you to thread that needle, and I will leave it to you to continue to speak truth to power, to speak truth, period, and to tell the stories of our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munter. You were right, the journalism professor is indeed next. Mr. Randy Boswell has had a wide-ranging career with the Ottawa Citizen and Post Media News, where he covered City Hall, he had a business column, he wrote a variety of feature stories, he served as city editor and developed a national history beat. Mr. Boswell became a full-time professor in the School of Journalism and Communication at Carleton University in 2012. Mr. Randy Boswell, à vous la parole.
Thank you. I'm here to speak about the big picture history of the Ottawa Citizen, and I'm going to get there momentarily. But first, a little personal history. I had just turned 20 years old when I got my first byline in the Citizen, a feature story about a busker in the Byward Market. And it was a pretty big deal for an aspiring reporter who was still attending Carleton University's School of Journalism at the time. And I was in school, I need to say, thanks in large part to a scholarship from the Ottawa Citizen. I was very privileged to go on and write somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 stories for the Citizen over the next 35 years, to edit, paginate, or proofread a few thousand more. Still nowhere near as many, by the way, as some of the people here in the audience tonight. I teach journalism at Carleton now. But I owe my career to the Citizen, like so many thousands of other employees over the past 177 years. It's also where I made many friendships that have endured through the decades. And most important, the Citizen newsroom is where I met my future wife, Kelly, a fellow night desker at the time who came up to me one evening and asked if she could borrow my proportional wheel. Most of you may not know what that is, but if you go down to the museum display afterwards, you can see one. It was a now ancient device that is used to resize pictures. Alex, you probably used one back in the Canada Courier days. And so apparently I blushed like crazy when she asked to borrow my proportional wheel, and the veteran deskers teased us, and the rest is history. So Christy, my daughter, who's here tonight, you won't believe it, but your boring parents were once cool enough to be the subject of newsroom gossip. Now she'll probably never come to one of these things again. All right. My point here is that I can't pretend to be an objective, scholarly, chronicler of the Ottawa Citizen's history when I'm so deeply indebted to that institution for my livelihood and, in fact, for my family. That building out on Baxter Road was a second home for me for most of my adult life. So the Citizen, Ottawa's oldest continuously operated business, as the mayor mentioned, has been, among other things, a major employer and community of workers, editorial, advertising, circulation, production, and more, and for the better part of 2 centuries. It has also, of course, served the community in countless ways through its journalistic activity, and more about that in a moment. But we journalists tend to overlook the vital role the Citizen has played as a commanding commercial presence in the city. It's #1 advertising vehicle for generations, key source of intelligence for local companies and entrepreneurs about the growth and development of the capital, and about the ever-changing wants and needs of local citizens. Beyond all that, the Citizen has been a major player in Ottawa in terms of community building and philanthropic spirit. Its famous Raise a Reader campaign to support literacy is just one example of the local paper serving the city as a good corporate citizen. I mentioned Carleton University, and yes, as Mayor Watson mentioned in stealing some of my lines, Carleton, in fact, very much owes its existence to the Citizen, which was a prominent advocate, along with the Ottawa Journal, of bringing a college to the city to help returning soldiers gain an education. And in fact, the land upon which Carleton's campus was built was donated by Harry Southam, the university's first chancellor and the Citizen's owner and publisher. So pushing for the creation of Carleton is hardly the first example of the Citizen's profound influence on the city. We can, to a significant degree, credit the newspaper for the city of Ottawa being called Ottawa. While the Citizen began life in 1845 as the Bytown Packet, by 1851 it had adopted the name the Ottawa Citizen at a time when the community it served was still called Bytown. So the name Ottawa caught on, of course, and was officially adopted by City Council in 1855 as the new name of this municipality. By then, the city was in fierce competition with Toronto, Montreal, and other places to become the permanent capital of Canada. And the Citizen was a leading voice in advocating for the selection of Ottawa as the country's new seat of government. That was another successful crusade. There were other battles to come: a fight for clean drinking water, better public health, including vaccination, for cleaning up the Ottawa River, and much more. The Citizen railed against shady government deals with military contractors during both the First and Second World War, when it wasn't popular to write about such things, just as the modern Citizen exposed shady political practices in its Michener Award-winning robocalls investigation of voter suppression during the 2011 federal election. As the judges stated in awarding the Citizen and Post Media News this country's highest award for public service journalism, the persistent coverage shed light on how technology can subvert our most fundamental democratic value, the right to vote in a fairly run election. We've heard a lot about election issues in recent years, and journalists standing up for fair elections sounds like a good thing. Shedding light, fairness. For a newspaper with the motto fair play and daylight, it ranks as a signature achievement. Along the way, there were 40-plus National Newspaper Awards, many dozens more nominations, countless other prizes for groundbreaking coverage of healthcare, environment, business, and much more. Again, some of those award winners are here with us tonight. There's a lot to be proud of through 17, almost 18 decades of the Citizen's public service. There's much to justify the honor the newspaper is receiving tonight. A newspaper that is no longer just a newspaper, of course, in the digital age. Throughout its history, the Citizen has bestowed fame and assigned blame in more or less equal measure. Occasionally, it inflicts shame on those who really deserve it, but also in its best moments, it lights a flame, ignites an uproar, and initiates change. I'll conclude by quoting one of those friends I mentioned earlier, the recently departed Citizen columnist Kelly Egan, who will appreciate how I phrased that. No, he's not. He's just retiring. After nearly 20 years as a marquee Citizen columnist and 2,500 or so columns, in fact, you might enjoy one of his recent ones in which he did actually come close to departing after a misadventure involving a roof at his house and a shaky ladder. But anyway, Kelly describes eloquently and persuasively how newspapers and the journalists who write for them are in the relationship business with their readers and with their community. It takes years to fully understand, he wrote a few weeks ago in his final column when he was in a reflective mood. But this is the essential job of a hometown newspaper, to be there at the darkest hour for individuals, for families, for communities, to help us all navigate a mad, tragic world. When a train crashes, when a tornado strikes, when a village is totally flooded, we did our best to be there with you. It's the Ottawa Citizen way. This is our home too, since 1845. It's not in us to turn away. Thank you, Mr. Egan, and thank you all.
And thank you, Mr. Boswell. I would now like to bring everyone's attention to the video screen for a video presentation produced by the Ottawa Citizen on the occasion of their 175th anniversary. Je vous invite, mesdames et messieurs, à regarder la vidéo qui suit à l'écran devant.
Imagine a rough and tumble lumber town, a settlement where riots are not uncommon and street brawls turn into pitched battles. An industrious place, snuggled at the junction of three rivers, miles from the civilization of the times in Montreal, Toronto, and Kingston. This is Bytown. Housing had progressed from the log cabin era. Schools, churches, and libraries were becoming commonplace. And in a small wood frame building on Muddy George Street, a politician named William Harris turned the crank, fed the sheets of paper into the press, and the packet of Bytown was born.
Citizen was a technological pioneer back in the early 70s. We were the first newspaper in Canada to use computers for writing and editing and typesetting.
This paper came into being before Canada was even a country. So we've covered everything from Sir John A. to Justin Trudeau and everything in between.
I think I did realize that I was writing and living history because it was such an important milestone in the life of a country to create its own constitution.
I was assigned to 10 Olympic Games. I was there when Muhammad Ali lit the Olympic torch in Atlanta in 1996. I was there for Sidney Crosby's golden goal.
A great story surprises the reader. A great story tells them something they didn't know about something that matters to them. A great story has a moral, and a great story is beautifully written. And when you think of combining the skill sets that takes into one person, who we call the reporter, editor, photographer, copy editor, headline writer, it's a hell of a skill set to have. And this newsroom has been blessed with many, many, many who fit that description.
In a way, I've been lucky to see a whole transformation of the business. I've talked to a lot of the old-timers about this. We were there for the heyday, right? When newspapers were king, and now we've evolved into something else. And we've seen the whole digital transformation, so that's been kind of interesting.
As reporters, we're sort of on the first take of history. I think that's the cliche. And the Citizen, especially because the reporting has gone on for so long, it has institutional memory of what this has happened in this city, right? From like the giant cake at the 100th anniversary of Confederation in 1967, all the way up to, terrible things like the Westboro bus crash, right? And all of those things in between. A city needs its own newspaper, right? Because it needs its own version of history every day.
When you need something you can count on, when there's a very complicated story that affects a lot of people in a lot of ways, the Citizen throws everything it has at it.
If I wasn't a newspaper reporter, and if I wasn't a newspaper reporter in this city, I don't know what I would do. I think having the beat that I do and working that as intensely as I do and working for the paper has really been one of the kind of foremost defining characteristics of my adult life.
The daily constant scrutiny and reporting that the paper does, to me, is important in the greater scheme of things. And I think of it as important daily. and it's not something that I take for granted.
Even at a time when there's so many more media available than there were when the Citizen began, when life has changed so distinctly, when online is where many people get their news, I think it's the continuity and continuing voice and painting a picture of the community as it was then and as it is now in a sort of linear form is crucial.
The first thing I think about is the actual name, the nameplate. We are a citizen of the community and we want to be seen that way.
The Citizen has been part of this community now for 175 years and played an important role in just about every aspect of the life of this community.
To think that there would be a city of Ottawa without an Ottawa Citizen is an unfathomable thought. They're hand in hand and an inseparable pair who feed off each other.
That's kind of what the paper does every day. It's like a little dose of comfort, I hope, for our readers. We're not delivering information to people. That's not what a newspaper's about. I think we're in the relationship business. That's what we're doing. We're building a relationship with thousands of people who rely on us every day.
To be recognized for not merely anything that current employees have done, but that reporters and journalists over decades, and in this case over 175 years, have done. It's nice to get that kind of recognition. It means something.
I think it's a well-earned honor for an institution that really is vital and that has for generations and generations been essential to democracy and public life in this town.
It also says something about the importance of newspapers that I'm really glad to see recognized, especially in these days that we're historic, we've served a real purpose, and we continue to.
It's got a reputation for quality, for integrity, for impeccable judgment, and I don't believe anything that I hear until I see it confirmed by the Citizen. Simple as that.
175 years.
A vital institution, definitely a recurring theme tonight. Ms. McAdam, I now invite you to take the floor. Madame McAdam, à vous maintenant de prendre la parole.
Thank you so much. Elder Commanda, it's a privilege to be speaking on the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, so thank you. Mayor Watson, distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, and family, this is such an honor. Merci infiniment. We have been looking forward to this day for a long time. Thank you, Alex and Randy, for your unique perspectives. And Alex, I think despite our counseling, you did okay. Yeah. When the mayor's office first reached out to us in the winter of 2020, shortly before our 175th anniversary, we could not have known that in a few short weeks, our newsroom would be empty. That our only connection to each other would be through daily video meetings, instant messages, emails, and phone calls. I was just 10 weeks into my tenure as editor-in-chief, and that was a daunting experience to try and manage this newsroom, which had flown off into all directions. Most of our interactions with the public would be electronic as well, or when we did meet in person to take a photo, for example, it would be through windows and doors, at least 2 meters away, wearing masks and gloves. Needless to say, that first ceremony was canceled. Newsroom speculation had it that the COVID break would last a few weeks, a month at the most. But as we all know, it's been more than 2 years. Through it all, we've worked through anxiety and fear. Fear for ourselves, for our families, friends, and neighbors. Citizen journalists have asked the tough questions that we believed our readers were asking themselves. We did our best to hold public figures accountable for the decisions that they were making, while acknowledging the huge amount of uncertainty that we all faced. We worked hard, battling stress, long hours, burnout, and isolation. And readers responded, flocking to our stories in record numbers online. Journalism seems like it would be something that would be well suited to working from home. In the end, a journalist's job is to talk to people in the community, write, take pictures, edit, and then publish. But anyone who has ever worked in a newsroom is undoubtedly shaking their head right now. Journalism at its best is a team sport. The Ottawa Citizen is better when we're bouncing ideas off each other, testing assumptions, sharing the perfect source or that eye-popping data point, engaging in the back and forth of editing, and continually making good stories better. So much of this gets lost in impersonal electronic communications when you can't look somebody in the eye. So I'm thrilled to say that we're expecting our Baxter Road newsroom to open back up in September. I can't thank the Citizen team enough for getting us past these past 2 years. It's a testament to the culture of the organization that we have persevered. We've continued to do fantastic work through COVID-19 and its variants, school closures, hospitals that were pushed to the brink, LRT growing pains, a federal election, a provincial election, the Freedom Convoy, and last month's terrible storms, and the many, many other stories that our journalists have gathered. And lest there be any doubt, the Citizen will have hard-hitting and comprehensive coverage of this fall's municipal election campaign. But the pandemic has left scars on both the newsroom and on the news industry at large. It's not an exaggeration to say that local news in Canada is in a crisis, buffeted by the twin forces of failing business models and decreased public trust in institutions, including in the media. COVID was both a blessing and a curse for local news. It demonstrated how essential, accurate, timely information is, while robbing us of the revenue that we needed to survive. The mayor is right. We are the city's oldest continuing operating business, in addition to being an essential source of news and stories. And the disruptions that damage the local economy also hurt us. We are not alone in the media industry. According to data from the Local News Research Project, since the pandemic began, 78 news outlets across Canada have permanently closed, including 65 community newspapers. These are newspapers such as the Winchester Press, La Nouvelle in Embrun, and the Carp Valley Press. So what happens when a community loses its source of local news? Studies show that civic engagement drops. Fewer people vote, fewer people run for office, join community organizations, and reach out to their elected officials. Without the watchdog role that local media like the Citizen plays, governments become less efficient. The number and salaries of officials and employees rises, police solve fewer crimes, and the cost of government borrowing increases. At the same time, misinformation and polarization increase. When cutbacks to local news coverage leave a vacuum, special interests fill the void with digital publications like blogs or newsletters. They differ from legitimate local news startups in that they're not transparent in what their interests are. They don't share where their information comes from or how it is verified. The United States has seen a rise in so-called pink slime sites, which masquerade as local news outlets, but actually contain highly partisan stories often paid for by political actors. These are the environments under which misinformation thrives. When a local news organization disappears, a growing proportion of people begin using social media as their primary source of news. Apps such as Facebook are very efficient at spreading both legitimate news as well as misinformation. The problem is, on those platforms, they look the same. And platform algorithms tend to favor posts that generate an emotional reaction. The more people hit the like or angry face emoji, the more popular that post becomes, which is what disinformation campaigns, which are the real fake news, rely on. It's not a coincidence that leaders of the Freedom Convoy use social media to recruit and organize. So how do we fix it? I'm not here to tell you that the solution is for everyone to subscribe to the Ottawa Citizen, although you absolutely should. There are several regulatory and policy proposals that you may have read about in our newspaper that could help ameliorate the crisis, but I'd like to focus on two smaller ideas that are a little closer to home. Rebuilding trust by engaging more with our readers and ensuring that our coverage reflects the full diversity of life in and around Ottawa. Journalism has always been a public trust, but trust is ephemeral, and it can be shaken and it can be broken. There are powerful social forces that have undermined trust in all public institutions. So that's not to say that the media industry hasn't contributed to this mistrust and doesn't occasionally lose its way. It has, and it does. Criticism of the media for valuing certain issues over others, for creating false equivalencies, for its lack of diversity and unconscious biases are valid and important. Regardless of the cause or source of mistrust, news organizations, including the Ottawa Citizen, need to work on rebuilding it, and that starts with listening. So in the coming weeks and months, you'll see more of our journalists engaging with our audience. For example, we recently tested a series of question and answer sessions where people could ask our team about their work. You'll see reporters and editors pop into the comment section, which can be a scary place, trust me, to answer questions or provide added context to our journalism. And as always, we welcome readers to write a letter or an email to the editor to hold us accountable, make us aware of something we haven't considered, and add your voice to the debate. Finally, we know that building trust involves ensuring that the entirety of the community is represented in the stories we tell. We need to ensure that the people we speak to and photograph are reflective of the wide variety of communities in Ottawa, whether they're BIPOC, Indigenous, Two-Spirit LGBTQ+, or people with disability. We acknowledge that repairing trust with these communities can take time and effort, but we're prepared to do the work. The pressures that the Ottawa Citizen faces sometimes keeps me up at night. My husband can tell you that. But what gets me up in the morning is the extraordinary privilege of working with this strong, talented, dedicated group of people doing something meaningful. It's reporting consistently on the problems in long-term care long before COVID exposed them to everyone. It's the way citizen reporters use freedom of information laws to report on LRT construction problems while it was being built. It's how we brought both vital information and comfort to Ottawans during troubled times, such as the Westboro bus crash, the 1998 ice storm, and the 2018 tornadoes. It's how we report on the heroes in this community, from Jonathan Pitry to Henry Burris to Dr. Vera Etches, and follow the movers and shakers from Eugene Melnick to Toby Lutke. We intend to be the oldest operating business in Ottawa for a long time to come. And we will continue to build bridges to focus on helping readers better understand what's happening in our community through honest, fair accountability journalism that reflects the deep, rich diversity of life in this great city. And we hope you'll continue to read. Thank you so much for this honor, Mayor Watson, and thank you all for coming to this evening and for listening. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As we come to the closing of this evening's ceremony, I would like to remind everyone to sign the official guest registry that is located in the reception area in Jean Piggott Place. The City of Ottawa Archives, in collaboration with the Ottawa Citizen, has produced an Ottawa Citizen exhibit of archival items and memorabilia for this occasion, located in Jean Piggott Place. I would like to thank Piper Carter-Mann and the Sentries from the Cameron Highlanders of Ottawa for their participation this evening. Today's presentation was aired live on Rogers TV 22 and will be available to view later on the Rogers YouTube channel. It will also be rebroadcast June 17th at 4 p.m., June 18th at 10 a.m., and June 24th at 8:30 p.m. Thank you for joining us, and please enjoy the rest of the evening. Please rise at this time for National Anthem and the departure of the official party. Je vous invite à vous lever pour le départ du cortège officiel et pour l'hymne national. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames, messieurs, good evening. Bonne soirée.
We often think of Mozart living in poverty, having trouble paying his bills, not able to make ends meet. In actual fact, Mozart earned a huge amount of money, and he had servants. His big problem was he spent a lot more money than he earned, so he was always borrowing money. And particularly at the end of his life, one of his patrons actually sued him to get money back from one of his loans. But that was the life Mozart led, and fortunately he wrote so much incredible music. Most people consider the Austrian composer Joseph Haydn to be the first major figure of the classical period. Throughout his long life, his music is filled with an undeniable joy and a good sense of humor. Haydn spent a lot of time in Hungary and would have heard a lot of gypsy music. This is his rousing Gypsy Rondo. It is incredible to think of how the world must have been before radios, television, CD players, and computers. The only way you could get to know a piece of music would be to attend a very rare public performance or play it yourself. Johann Nepomuk Hummel arranged all of Beethoven's 9 symphonies for the combination of flute, violin, cello, and piano. These were intended for people to enjoy playing in their homes with their friends. Here's the third movement of Beethoven's Symphony No. 6, Pastoral, titled Merry Gathering of Country Folk. Thank you for watching Music and Beyond Presents. If you would like to see more videos or learn about our upcoming concerts, including the Music and Beyond Festival, please visit musicandbeyond.ca.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Looking for the best way to get the Major League Baseball games you want to